Hi, I thought I'd show you the first step in the French polishing process. The pores have been filled. I did that yesterday and it's all nice and satiny smooth and all the pores are filled. And I had the video on the shellac and wood dust method that I used to do that. I already posted that. And today I'm ready to finally do begin the French polishing process. And I'm basically following Tom Bill's method of doing a French polish, which I really love because it's just so simple and intuitive and makes sense to me. So the first step that I'm going to do is do at least a couple of coats of just getting shellac on there. Shellac with a little alcohol, no oil yet, and just using cheesecloth. So I have here a piece of cheesecloth, and what I've done is a piece, it's probably about, I don't know, 8 inches long, and it's doubled up when it's in the package. I just get it at Orchard Supply or grocery store. And so it's probably, as it is here, it's 3 layers folded over, but it's about 8 inches piece. And so that's perfect. So I just fold it over into, see so you can see it. I fold this piece over into thirds, like that. And then I just fold it over in half. So that makes kind of a good size right there to use. And then what you do is you fold one side, the side that's just the straight fold, single fold, and you fold it kind of like a paper airplane into a point right there, and then fold the back end up like the tail end of the airplane, like that, and then you just fold the wings up. And what you get is kind of a handle up here, and you get a pointed, kind of a pointed area there. Okay, and so that's what I'm going to be using just to get shellac on there. And I have here a couple of layers of paper towel. That's to blot the pad on as I'm loading it. And basically here's the process. So I have a 2-pound cut of medium dark blonde shellac, 2-pound cut. To do the pore filling I had used a 1-pound cut. And now when I start putting the French polish shellac coats on, I'm using a 2-pound cut, a little bit heavier. And alcohol. And instead of denatured alcohol, I use Everclear, which is 190 proof ethyl alcohol, pure grain alcohol. And there's not the poisons in it and the fumes and everything of denatured alcohol that you can buy at any hardware store. I got a few bottles of the Everclear up in Washington last July, when I was in Washington for the Guild of American Luthiers convention. I remembered this time to stop at a grocery store and buy some before I left, because you can't buy this proof, the 190 proof, in California, but you can in Washington. So that's what I use for the alcohol. So that's what I like about the French polish process, is it's clean, easy cleanup. I just close the bottles, and materials that don't produce fumes, and just very easy to work with. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a glove of the shellac, maybe a couple of gloves, because this is a pad that hasn't been used yet, so you have to kind of condition it. So I put a couple of gloves of the shellac on the pad, and then 1 glove of alcohol, kind of thins it out a bit. And then I blot it. You work with it pretty dry, and then I go and kind of pat it on my palm, pat it on my hand like that. And it just kind of disperses it throughout the pad, and also makes sure that you don't have too much on the pad. Okay, and then I take the pad, and basically I just do circular. I tend to go counterclockwise at first, and you're just doing circular motions. What Tom Bill suggests is you kind of move up and then you pull down. Move up, he calls it paint and pull or something like that. And pulling down kind of smooths out the swirls that you made when you're doing the circular motions. You don't at any time want to stop, because then the shellac can stick, which is not good, because you start pulling out shellac. Okay, so another glove. Blotted on the, I'm pulling off some dust. I thought I had it cleaned off, but that's no problem. Okay, then I'll continue down. I think I'll go down the side. And you can go over where you've already gone, because it takes a while for it to start to build. And right now you're not worrying so much about how smooth it is, because that will come later. You're just trying to get shellac on there. You'll do at least a couple of sessions to get some shellac to start to build. Okay. And you can kind of tell when it's time to put another shot on there. That's what I like about this process, just kind of intuitive. You kind of get a feel for what you should be doing. And a little shellac goes a long way. And what makes French polish kind of a good method is that everything goes on so thinly, and I believe that's what makes the sound come out much more fully, because the finish actually is pretty thin. So blot it out, pat it on my hand, and go down here. You never want to really stop on the surface, because then the shellac sticks. And there's no oil on here yet. You don't do the oil on the pad until at least 2 coats of just shellac and alcohol. You try to go a few coats of shellac only with alcohol before you have to start using oil. And when you do use oil, olive oil, we try to use as little as possible, just enough to allow the pad to move a little more smoothly on the surface. Okay, and when you've reached I've done about this much so far, and when this is dry but you still have something on there, you hit the corners, because you don't want to put too much on the corners to make it run or anything, but you want to just slowly build it up on the corner edge. So you just kind of go like that. Yeah, I'll just do a little more before I shut down this video. But basically what I'll do is at least 2 sessions of just the shellac. I'm doing kind of the middle section here now. And with this pad, it's kind of cool because you can, once you get the feel for it, you can control how much comes out of the pad by either pressing down on the nose of it like that, or pressing the sides to squeeze out a little bit more. So it's kind of, you have good control, and it's easy to control how much you let out or how hard you press down. You know, what kind of pressure you put on. And it's very enjoyable, I find. And it takes a little while at first for the pad to become conditioned, you know, to become supple and the kind of softness or whatever that you want the pad to have. Later, when you, after you put a few coats of shellac on and you start using the oil, what you do, see, I'm pressing kind of a little bit harder now. Well, later when you start using oil, you actually wrap this pad in a piece of t-shirt. But just for the rough getting shellac on, just the cheesecloth is fine. Plus it's still kind of filling the pores because the dust apparently is coming off, but also as you're doing this, you're putting the dust back in the pores. I always start with the back. I don't know why. It's just so easy because it's just all flat and you start to get the feel of the using the pad. And it's easy when it's just horizontal flat surface to start with. But it's all coming back to me. Haven't done this in 2 years, but I love it. I love this process. Okay, it's pretty dry and I haven't hit the corners on this side yet, so that's what I do. Just hit the corners and then I'm just going to go all the way around. Okay, so that's the process of the first coat or 2 eventually of shellac onto the soundbox. After this dries a little bit, which is neat about shellac, it dries pretty quickly to the touch. Then I'll do the sides. And at the end I'll do the top. The top usually takes longer to fill for some reason. I suppose it's more porous. You know, the shellac takes a longer time to get absorbed into the top, I suppose. But it always takes a while, quite a bit longer than it does for the back and sides, for me to get the top to start looking smooth and accepting the shellac in a smoother way. But that's the process. It has begun. Thank you.